Hi. I'm
Hi.
happy to start off with what would you like to
Hi.
know about me or anything while we wait for folks to join?
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, there's other people
Oh, that's great.
coming.
We'll do a round where you can ask me anything you want to know about me.
Okay. So, my name is Lena. I'm from Belgium, and I
Ah,
will be participating to in the IIT in Slovenia, and I'm very excited about it. And
yes.
I'm reading your book, How to Have
Oh,
Anti-Racist Conversations, and
I'm delighted.
yeah, and I'm very much interested and touched also by the concept of beloved community,
Mm,
and also the authentic dialogue is something I
mm,
really like to absorb, um, take it in fact. Yes,
mm.
what do I have as a question? Maybe I have a question. I'd like to be able to have a more concrete image about
Mm,
the authentic dialogue. Maybe,
mhm.
Roxy, if that's okay for you, maybe you could tell me a little bit uh, how do you use it? Who are the people that
Mhm.
apply it, that you teach it to? I'd like to know. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I'm going to hold this question for a brief moment as I see some folks have joined, just so we could welcome them in, and then I'm going to answer this. Thank you for starting us off.
Okay.
Vesna or Ina, do you want to welcome the folks who've joined, and then I can
Yes,
answer Lena's wonderful
sure.
question?
Thank you, Roxy, and thank you, Lina. Greetings from Carol
Mhm.
to Lina.
Okay. My friend Carol. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, Vesna. Oh, Carol
that's me.
talked about you. Okay.
Okay,
Nice to meet you.
just a short intermezzo. But anyway, just a short introduction to today's session with Roxy. Thank you, everyone, for coming, for joining. This is the second round of sessions with the trainers that will be at this year's IIT in Slovenia. It will be held from the 16th to 25th of October in Slovenia in a beautiful surroundings of Pohorje. It's in the southeast of Slovenia, surrounded in a beautiful forest, nature. So there will be plenty of opportunities that you can take walks and have integration in nature. So if you still consider to apply, maybe this will be a nice trigger to invite you to this year's IIT. We will be joined by 5 amazing trainers, besides Roxy, also John Kenyon, Iris Bawidaman, Jürgen Ingels, and Sudha Shankar from different countries of this world. And this topic of this year's IIT in Slovenia will be social change. And of course, those of you who know Roxy, she has been working many years on the topic of social change. Somewhere I've read, Roxy, that you approach NVC as a vehicle for social change, which really touched me. So
Mm,
today's session will be 1 hour long. We will have 30 to 40 minutes of introduction of Roxy's work that will be presented also at the IIT. And then we will have some 15 to 20 questions around whatever you might need or want to know about the logistics or organization of the IIT. I'm also joined by Ina. She is the marketing officer of this IIT, and she will be supporting us in terms of technical issues. So, not to take too much time from Roxy, please, I give you the word. And thank you for joining us today, Roxy.
Oh, absolutely. So, welcome, everyone. I'm so delighted to answer questions. I love questions. And I'm going to start off with a question that Lena asked. Lena was the first person on the call. So, she got to ask the first question. And the question was around the work that I do around beloved community and authentic dialogues, which is in some ways an application of nonviolent communication and Kingian nonviolence in many different settings. And if I understood and recalled the question correctly, it was, who are the people that I use this with? Where am I taking this work? And perhaps like, how is it helping? Is that it?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been, the whole concept of authentic dialogue was about 20 years in the making. When I first started learning nonviolent communication, I went to an IIT with Marshall, I think it was in 2003, so quite a long time ago. And then within 2 years, I started assisting and then at some point teaching at my own events. And by 2007, we had started in the US the diversity retreat, which was basically how do we bring activists who are interested in social change, especially around racial justice, and nonviolent communication practitioners together so that they could learn from each other. And that's where we started the work, and that's where a lot of the concepts came up. We did that retreat every year until the pandemic. And those are exactly some of the people where I've done the work. So an example was I had a pretty large university system in one of the states in the US who did a lot of work on domestic violence, right? So on working with families having, where people were experiencing violence within their personal, intimate relationships. This this university system was helping to create the standards for like supporting all of the little organizations that did this work in their state. And part of their challenge was how do you do this work and then also attend to differences in culture? Because some people would say, wait, this isn't domestic violence. This is just how we talk in our community or something like this. Or some of the interventions that they wanted to do really didn't match what the different families that they were trying to support needed. Or sometimes there would be blatant racism. People would make assumptions about the people that they were trying to serve. And so I was bringing this work, the authentic dialogue framework. How do we both name, like use all of nonviolent communication tools to be able to name what's happening without judgment, but to still really be clear about saying, I want to say what's happening is causing harm, right? Like it's not about being nice or pulling punches and making it soft. It's about being able to speak the truth, being able to hold people to accountability and then to be able to work with people. For me, a huge part of authentic dialogue is how do I hear and talk to people who have a very different lived experience than my own and a very different way of moving through the world by my own so that we can hear from each other what's needed so that we can work together. So how do we establish those connections? And I did some work probably over 2 years with the state agency, to help them be a little bit more effective in both how they work together as a team and then how they work together with the people that they served. So that's an example of like, one very specific place where I'm bringing this work. How is this to hear? You're muted, Lena.
It's wonderful to hear. I'm very interested. Absolutely. So if I understood it well, you added some more precision tools maybe to the nonviolent communication approach that maybe some tools that enable people to speak easier about what they mean and to make clear that it does harm, in fact.
Yeah,
The
but not
practice
that
that you were
nonviolent
talking.
communication does harm, but that
No,
different
no,
things
no,
that
that's
we
not
do,
what I want to
right?
say. Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's one way to look at it, right? That for many of us who are practicing nonviolent communication, it is life-changing. I mean, that's the whole reason I got into it. It's absolutely life-changing. But what happens is many of us are working at multiple levels. There's kind of like me as the individual meeting you as an individual. But then we're
Yeah.
also working in systems, and those systems are built on a lot of assumptions and kind of putting people into boxes. And part of the goal is like, how do I navigate? How do I use the tools of nonviolent communication, the consciousness of nonviolent communication, to address some of these larger systemic structures that are not necessarily about individual people? And so that's part of what I'm wanting to do with authentic dialogue, that we're able to both talk about the individual differences with all of the skills that nonviolent communication brings us, but also bring awareness to some of these societal level differences that exist that impact us.
Okay, this is so interesting to me, and I am wondering if you also see that the authentic dialogue succeeds in making clear the systemic injustice to people who are maybe more or less belonging to, let's say, the mainstream, or
Yeah,
who don't
absolutely.
suffer very much oppression, let's say. Yeah.
Yes, after what, it must have been almost, let's see, from 2007 to 2018, so like 12, 13 years of doing this work with activists, with people, like even before the pandemic, and I've continued since then. Absolutely. That's been part of why I continue doing the work. That, I talk a lot about, for some folks, it's like, whoa, light bulb went off and I got it. Other folks, it's like, I had one person who came to that retreat that I talked about probably 6 years in a row. And this was a white man who had a fair amount of privilege and would own that. He was in a professional career and he did not get it. He did not get it, but he kept coming back, because part of it is what nonviolent communication offers us, that it's about showing up and being received, not being judged, not being put down, not being othered, but being met and understood for where that struggle is and where that challenge is, so that we can create the conditions for people to understand and learn where they're struggling.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for this question.
Mhm.
So hello, folks, everyone else who's on the call. Some of you I know I've met recently at another IIT. Hello. And others are new to me. But you're on the call and it's a Q&A. So for me, Q&As are fun because I get to answer a million different topics. What questions do you have? Who has a question for me? Yay, Jasmina.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a question. It's a request for connection, actually, with you.
Sure.
I would like to know which part of NVC was the one that came to you the most naturally, and the easiest one, maybe, and which part was the hardest one for you to embody it.
I would love to answer that.
And also, how do you make NVC to be to come out of you in a natural form, so that it's easier for people to accept it and not reject it or get offended?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So two parts to this question. Let me take the first part. And I'm kind of smiling because it's been a long journey. So which part of NVC was the easiest and which part was the hardest? Well, they're kind of related and they're all about empathy. For me, empathy for others was the easiest. And part of it was about my socialization. I had a fair amount of challenges in my life. And one of the things I learned was that my safety meant that I needed to know what other people needed, what was going on for them, and give it to them so I can keep them safe, so I can keep myself safe, right? If I made other people happy, then I would be safe. Anybody else have that experience, just so I don't feel quite so vulnerable? Oosh, okay. So empathy was really easy for me. Like my entire life had been training, pay attention to people, figure out what they're needing, and to really figure out not just what they say they're needing, but really what the needs are, and like try to attend to that. So empathy has always been easy for me. It's before I learned NVC, I was a psychologist, right? It was always around trying to understand people and what made them tick. The part that was hardest for me was self-empathy because I never gave myself permission for that. It was always like, no, you don't want to be a whiner. You've got to like everything that happens, it's your fault. Take on the responsibility for it. Your job is to make other people feel better. And so self-empathy was always a huge struggle for me. And it's still the place where can I find myself slipping into self-judgment? Absolutely. After 20 years of this, I still go there. I still struggle with that. So yeah, it's kind of like both sides of the coin, right? One part's the easy side. If it's about other people, the part about me is still the part that I'm learning and struggling and working through. And then the second part of your question, which was, how do I kind of get this to be natural and to flow easier? I'll answer it kind of in relation to what I just shared about empathy and self-empathy. Like because the empathy was easy and natural, it just felt easy. Like there never felt a struggle there for me to be able to empathize with another person. The self-empathy was where I had to, and again, it still doesn't come fully naturally. So what did I do to help? A lot of it was first just noticing. I think there are ways that whichever side of the challenge you have, we don't actually notice how often we fall into judgment, right? How often I was falling into judgment of myself, how often I was giving up on my needs. It was automatic. I just did it easily. And so the first piece was beginning to slow down and notice that I was doing that. And it took a while for me to give myself permission to notice without trying to change it. Because every time I tried to change it, it felt like I was shooting myself. You should be better at this. You should be a good NVC person. How could you be an NVC trainer if you can't self-empathize? Oh my gosh, yet another thing to beat myself up about. So I gave myself permission for a really long time to just notice it and kind of more and just be like, yep, there's that story again. There's that habit again. There's that pattern again. Then, after probably several years of just noticing, I started finding people I trusted and telling them, when I do this thing, tell me about it, right? Just call me in, check in and ask me, is this really where you want to go? Is this really what you want to say to yourself? And, I had probably, and I got to say, I'm really lucky because I very quickly was in close community with a lot of really great NVC trainers. Like Mickey and Mbal Kashtan were my friends. Like all of my friends were highly skilled NVC trainers who were willing to say those things to me. And so they started kind of calling me in on it and pausing me and saying, do you want to try again? So that I could start to interrupt that behavior. And it would be stilted and weird. And sometimes I would be like, no, you're misunderstanding me and, get all defensive. But sometimes I would be able to do it differently. And then like my newest step on this journey is now I have like romantic partners who are not NVC people. And I'm asking them to do the same thing. And that's like, whoa, really scary because now it's like real world. I don't know how people are going to respond to me when if they call me out, are they going to do it with kindness, with gentleness? Are they going to like be upset with me? But I'm inviting this level of authenticity in my life and then noticing how am I showing up and slowing things down. So it's really the slowing down, the noticing and giving myself permission to do things over if I don't do it the way that I would like the first time. That's really created a shift in my practice. How's that for you?
Thank you. I like to hear how others' journeys are, and where I can connect with it, and where it's maybe the opposite, or yeah. So it was nice to hear your journey and how it went from focus to other people, then to you, and slowly gaining acceptance for yourself. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. And this piece that you named about hearing other people and how they do it, this is part of why I teach at IITs because, Of course, I think I'm a great trainer. Humility is one of my challenges. I'm like, oh, I'm not a good person. I'm not good at this. And I'm getting better at saying, yes, I am actually a great trainer. But I also think we learn from each other that, my journey is my journey. And every single person on this call, every single person at an IIT has their own journey. And so we start to find people who are on similar paths from us. And that's how we learn. We kind of find people who can support us, who get what we're going through, in addition to all of the wisdom that we get from the trainers at different events. So there's something about being in person with people that gives me that opportunity that you talked about to hear other people's journeys. Thank you. Welcome for everyone who's on the call. In case you just joined, this is a Q&A. I'm answering questions. Feel free to either ask your question out loud or to put it into the chat. I think we didn't say at the beginning of the call, but this call is recorded so that we're going to share it with anybody else who signed up for this series to kind of get to meet the trainers at the IIT. So if you want to ask a question, but you don't want it to be recorded with your face and voice, feel free to put it into the chat and I will read it out loud and respond to it. Otherwise, I love talking with people and I'd love it if you raise your hand or unmute it and ask me a question.
I have a question. If you could speak a bit about how do you approach conflicts, or how do you, in communities, how would you nurture a healthy culture of resolving the conflicts, and also in personal relationships, because I think often the problem is that they are just put aside or not really, yeah.
This is a great question, and it's complicated. So I'm trying to think of how to answer this succinctly. So first, this question about approaching conflict has several layers. One is when there's a conflict, and this is part for me of the whole beloved community piece. When there's a conflict, it isn't for me that I'm automatically going to be like, there's a conflict, I'm going to move towards it and I'm going to solve it, right? Part of deciding is there needs to be a moment of discernment of saying, is this actually a conflict that I want to get engaged in? You don't have to get involved in every conflict. And especially when I'm talking about things around power and privilege and things like that, I want people to be a choice. Just because someone is saying, I'm going to have this conversation with you, doesn't mean you have to say, yes, let's have this conversation. Sometimes it's exhausting. I'm not sure how many of you have been in relationships, either in communities or structurally, where the same conflict goes on over and over and over and over again, not because you're not showing up, but because the other person isn't there yet. They don't have the capacity or the willingness to shift. And so there's a point when you need to decide, do I have the energy for this? And I always start at that point when I talk about conflicts, because all too often NVC people have this idea that if there's a conflict, a good NVC person jumps in and tries to empathize and mediate it. That's exhausting if that's the standard you're going to set for yourself, okay? That is not sustainable. So I really want it to be a moment of discernment for you. Is this actually where I want to put my energy and time, where I have even the tiniest hope that there will be change? So that's the first piece that I think often does not get said. If you say yes, yes, I want to try to work towards this, then there are a number of things that are involved. The next step is to do an honest assessment of yourself, especially if you're a part of this conflict. I'm going to talk about this as if this is a conflict that you're a member of, not where I get called in to facilitate conflicts a lot that I'm not part of. So I don't have any charge about it. But let's say you are part of the conflict. Honest assessment. Are you holding judgment, right? A lot of times we have a lot of judgments. We have a lot of ideas of it should be solved this way. This is exactly how we should be doing it. And so we go into the conflict with a lot of rigidity about what we see happen, what we want to see happen. If that's the case, pause. Conflicts are not served by haste. The more fast we try to do everything, the more problematic it is. So if you notice you're holding a lot of judgment, a lot of rigidity, pause and get some empathic support. Understand what's going on for you, why you're struggling, what's happening, and encourage the other people to do the same. Because I often think about what's going inside as a pressure cooker. And if the pressure is building and building and building, and we all come together with all of that pressure, we're just adding more pressure to the pot. It's going to explode. If I go get empathy first, I can reduce the pressure so that when we come together, we're more likely to be able to hear each other. I've been listened to, I've been understood. I truly know what's important to me, not just the strategies I want. So the kind of pre-work is really important, also often not done. If I'm supporting a community with conflict, I can do that pre-work by inviting people to have smaller listening circles. It might be people who are holding the same view about the issue. They can support each other and listen to each other and help to unpack what's truly important to us here. Make sure that some of that energy dissipates. Then you create the structures around how they're going to hear each other, how we're going to come together and listen to each other. And sometimes I can be incredibly structured. Like, we're going to come together, we're going to spend 2 hours with one directional listening. You're going to show up, this person's going to share what's true for them, everyone else is going to listen and empathize. Then we're going to pause and take a break so that everyone can digest what came up for them about it. Then we'll come back and there'll be a period of actual, not just reflection, but now responding to what has been said. And then we flip it for the other side. So if I want to be super rigid when there's a lot of tension in the room, I'm going to slow it down even that much so that people can truly hear each other. Some conflicts, you don't have that much time, right? If there's a conflict at an IIT, 10 days, y'all are gone. That makes it a lot harder. So then there might be a lot more. There was an IIT I was at recently that had a huge conflict happen. And so what I did was to create a space where at least the folks who were present in the room could be heard about what the issues were that they were holding, what got triggered for them. And then we arranged for different members of the support team to continue to meet with people after that listening circle to provide more ongoing support. So there wasn't this idea that we're going to have one circle and everything will be resolved right away, but that we would create the space for everyone to at least understand what's up for people and then provide ongoing support for people to work through what was coming up for them over time. Let's just touch a little bit on, it's such a big question, so I'm hoping I gave some senses of this for you.
Yes, that was wonderful. Thank you, Roxy.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mati. And then I'm going to check the chat. Great. So there's a question on how will the session in Slovenia be organized? And I'm going to I can answer some of this, but I want to toss the organization part first to Vesna. Would you take that, Vesna? And then I'll answer a little bit about the will it only be talks part.
Yes. So the session, the program is running throughout the day. So from morning till the evening with short integration time in between. So there is some time for your own, I don't know, walks or self-care or whatever you might need. There is one free afternoon in between the whole program so that you also have a few more hours for yourself, for your own things that you would like to do, or go for a walk, or maybe visit the town. Basically, it starts in a large group. We start in the morning in a large group. Then the sessions are presented by the trainers. And then we are divided into smaller groups upon your decision to which topic you are drawn to or which trainer you are drawn to. So it's the whole system throughout the whole week. So we begin in the bigger group and then we split into smaller groups. And then in the evening, it's again one session with the whole group. Will it be only talks? Oh,
I can speak to that piece. Yeah. Oh, go on.
Different. So it's really different. It's upon the topic that is presented by the trainer. Sometimes you do it in smaller groups, or you do it in pairs, or individually, like maybe some dance floor, and it's different. But please, Roxy.
Hmm. Yeah. Usually at the IITs, we have a lot of different formats. So first, the trainers teach the core sessions throughout the day in the daytime. And depending on the trainer, some trainers, like I do body NVC, usually at least one of my sessions, which is a nonverbal body-based practice around empathy. Other people will do so many, like Vesna mentioned, dance floors. It really depends on the training team, what kind of body-based practices that they bring in. Um, in the evenings, participants and the support trainers will also offer sessions, and they also are invited to bring in everything. So um, I've seen sessions that included dance, that included music, that included almost anything. So if there's something that you love that you want to offer, it's invited. Bring it in and it will happen. So it's usually a pretty big mix of different modalities that really is dependent on who's there, who has energy to make it happen. But I know for sure for the training team that there will be a range of different kind of both. And when you say talk pieces, like some of it is talk, but every time I teach, there will always be small group work and breakout work so that you get to like actually engage with each other and do some of the practice. I don't think people learn well if I talk at them for 2 hours for a 2 hour session. I don't learn well. I usually just kind of glaze when someone does that. So I try to make it a lot of small group practice. If you have any follow-up questions, when someone puts a question into the chat, I don't refer to them, but if you have a follow-up question about that, feel free to add it to the chat. For those of you who are also on the call, other questions, what other questions do you have for me? You're welcome.
I would like to ask something. I was watching your video on the CNVC webpage, and there was a part of it talking about beloved community, and I had like tears in my eyes, and it was so heartwarming and wow. And I don't remember what was that about. So it was like I remember the emotions, the feelings, and then would you just tell more about it?
About beloved community?
Beloved
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. I'm actually feeling your reaction is so heartwarming to me. Thank you. To have this vision touch people is what I want in this world. So for me, beloved community came from the work of Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the way that I think about it, I write about it, is that for me, it's family. That when I think about being in a family, or at least in my family, there are people that I get along really well with, right? And it's like, no matter what, we're like this. And everything flows easily between us. Conflicts are easy. And that's not the problem for most of us. But there are also the family members that you just don't see eye to eye. It's like you clash all the time. And every time you get together, you're just like, ugh, why is this person in my family? But it's interesting because we never kick them out, right? If you're in my family, I'm going to show up for the dialogues. I'm going to tell you, like, hey, what you're doing isn't working for me. And I want to make it work because you're my family. I'm not going to write you off. I'm not going to walk away and never talk to you again. So I'm committed to making this work, to creating a family structure where everybody can thrive. And for me, beloved community means that if I'm doing well and my child is suffering, I'm not okay with that, right? I don't kind of say, well, I've got all the food I need. My kid's hungry. Oh, well, too bad. It's like I'm invested in everybody in my family thriving, having what they need to reach their full potential. And that's what beloved community is for me. I first want to say that I'm so aware that not every family is like that, right? And that's part of the heartbreak for me, that there are people who lived in families where that was not their experience. But for me, it's this ideal idea of what family is, that an ideal family is one where we say the hard stuff to each other, not because we're angry or mad at each other, but because we're committed to bringing our authenticity so that we can change and grow together and be stronger and thrive. And that we're committed to everybody's thriving in that family. And beloved community takes that idea of this ideal family and we bring it to the entire world. That I'm not okay if my neighbor down the street don't have food. I'm not okay if my neighbors are worried about being imprisoned if they walk down the street because they don't have the right immigration status. I'm not okay if somebody in my family can't get medical care, right? Now we're going to do all of the things together to make sure that every single member of our family, the human family, can thrive. And for me, you can actually expand beloved community beyond the human family, because the human family can't thrive if our planet is not thriving, right? I'm not okay if, like, the United States, like if some part of the United States, like when I think about environmental racism, if we're dumping all of the toxins on building, how do you say, landfills in one community because it's the poor community, but my community is clean and we have fresh air, I'm not okay with that. That's not what I would want for any member of my family. So beloved community is, how do I make it so that we truly, truly believe in the human family, where everybody is met with love, no matter how they show up, authenticity, accountability, fierceness. I'm not going to tell you, like, it's easy for me to tell my family members, what are you doing? Stop doing that. That's not okay, right? But to do it with love because I want to see them grow, not because I'm trying to shame them. Does that give you a sense?
Thank you. That's a huge task, huge job.
Yes.
And very exciting. Yeah, especially like for me, like environmental protection is very important. And I was like also social change in that sense, that how we connect with the whole earth actually. And
Yes.
for me, like in that sense, the beloved community includes animals and plants. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. It's always meaningful for me to touch in with, why do I do this work, right? Thank you. So there was a question in the chat. Can we see an example of nonverbal somatic NVC? Ooh, what can I do that would be doable on a very brief call? Okay, let's try this, everyone. So I want everyone for a moment to think of, I'm trying to make it, this, when I do this session, it gets very intense and very loud. So I'm trying to like make a very small practice. Here's one that might be fun. Think of something that you are feeling excited about. Okay, something that's bringing you like anticipatory joy. You're excited about it. Maybe you just did it. You're feeling incredibly proud about it. Okay, so everyone think of this, and when you have this specific thing in mind, I want you to, first I want everyone to be muted. Yes. And then I want you to raise your physical hand, or if your camera is off, to raise your electronic hand, just so I know that you have the situation in mind. Okay, I see some hands, see some hands, see some hands. Okay. Not seeing every hand, but I'm going to trust, I see most hands, but I'm going to trust that everyone can participate. Okay. So now I want you to, oh, it's so funny to do this in a very short way. Now I want you to think about this situation, and I want you to first get very clear in your mind, what was the situation? What was happening in that moment? What were you saying or doing in that moment? And I want you to show it with your body. And I'm going to do it also with you because I am so proud of one from yesterday. So actually make your body do the thing that you're feeling really proud about. What were you doing? And just notice your body doing it. Let your body do that thing. And now I want you to notice, how are you feeling as you do it? Just breathe in and notice, what are you feeling? And I want you to express that feeling with sound and movement. And you're doing it without words. Just let yourself sound and move how it felt to do that thing, the feeling that
You're muted.
And now I want you to think about the need. What feeling is that need pointing to? When this thing happened that you did and you had this feeling, what need was met for you? Now I want you to express that need in sound and movement. Ah. Let your body express that need. Ah. And just breathe it in. And now, as you think about this need that was met for you by that action that you took or that you will take, are there any requests that you have of yourself? Any requests that you would like to ask of yourself? And you can express that request in sound and movement. It might be a request of yourself. It might be a request of another person. What would that request be? Okay. So this is a very brief example of what this activity would look like. And I usually do it with anger at the IIT to have us work through an experience of anger with another person. And there are more parts to it, and it gets, like I said, very intense. And then we debrief after so that each person has a chance to go through the process and then be witnessed by someone else as they do it, and then also be the witness to someone else, and then we talk about it. And I'm curious, since I haven't done this in this very short taster, I'd love to hear from maybe one or two people. What was that like for you to do this? Did anyone have a deeper experience of this thing that you're feeling joy about, or more connection to why it mattered to you? Lori.
Yeah, I felt I was scared. I almost left, but I decided to be brave, and it was so joyful. I have tears in my eyes, and it reminded me that I could be happy or content or joyful or serene.
Thank you so much for trusting and staying and risking. A lot of this is around us taking that leap that if I do this practice, that it actually will serve me. And so I love hearing of your experience. Thank you. And perhaps one other person?
I would like to share, Roxy. It really touched
Yeah.
me because the first need that came out and then the last need was completely opposite. And it was kind of not warning, but like take care, like self-care within this process. And it was, maybe this was the thing that was stopping me to go towards it.
So it gave you a possibility of like, I actually can reach for this thing that I know will bring me joy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also saw in the chat joy, playfulness, and looking forward to repeat that on my evening walk in the forest. I love that you said that. My thing that I was talking about was how do you say, y'all are all, most of you are Europeans, a 9-kilometer walk up a mountain yesterday in the forest. It was so joyful. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that opportunity with that question. So, and I want to say that this also happens at the IIT, that someone will ask for something and say, hey, I want to see this thing. And I'm like, I have not thought about doing that thing before, but let's make it happen. So I also get to learn a lot and to stretch myself at IITs, which is always so much fun. So when you go to an IIT, ours, any other IIT, come prepared, like do a lot of journaling ahead of time around what is it that I want to get out of this. And then come prepared to make requests, because the more requests you make, the more you're going to get exactly what you need. So we definitely have time for at least a few more questions. Any others? And I also want to make sure I leave some time. Vesna, would you like more time to talk about any of the other logistics?
If there are any questions, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I want to invite questions for me or questions about the IIT itself.
Maybe I can ask you, Roxy, because I was with you at the German IIT a few years ago when Corona was still ongoing, and there was a conflict within the group about the topic of Corona and vaccinations and things like that. And I remember how I was so inspired by how you managed that conflict, and as you expressed yourself, and it was quite visible that you were quite touched by that conflict. And I was inspired how you kept your calm. So maybe what are your strategies to keep your calm?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Well, to be honest, I think it's a lot of decades of doing this at this point. I'm not sure that when early in my career that it's not that I would ever blow up, because that's never been my style. We each approach NVC having different challenges, but I would often shut down or kind of disconnect, or, yeah, mostly I would just kind of go internal whenever a conflict got too much for me. Nowadays, I'm really good at imagining that if somebody's coming to me with a lot of intensity, it's like one of my mantras is, this is not about me. This is not about me. And in some ways, the more intensity they have, the more it's not about me. So then it's much easier to get curious. Oh, so then if it's not about me, wonder what's going on for them. And if I can get myself that distance, that I don't have to defend myself because it's not about me, then I can show up with a lot of curiosity and, okay, what's going on for this person and how can I really support them in being understood? So I think that's probably the one piece that gives me the spaciousness, not to have to like contract or protect myself, because it's especially at an IIT, it's very rarely about me. It's like, you've just met me. I'm not sure why it would be about me, so I don't have to take it personally. Yeah. Yeah. Christina.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like while you were speaking, it's not about me. I was imagining a conflict with somebody where it was about me actually, and it's still not about me somehow. So yeah, I was like, that's very interesting thought, and I think that would help me a lot. My question was about like the topic of this IIT is social change. And for me, this is very interesting, but like any kind of social change is interesting, but environmental, like protection and the environmental field is maybe like I would like to specialize in that. I have degrees in the environmental field and I worked in there, and I would like now again focus on NVC in environmental NGOs. Yeah, so I guess it's not important that it is so specific, like but yeah, maybe you can calm me down and say that yes, like environmental topics are welcome there or something like that, because I know that your social change field is different. than environment mostly, but yeah, something
Okay.
around those.
So first, easy piece. Environmental topics. Oh, very welcome there. But second, I want to I want to say a little bit more. I almost definitely will be teaching my session on nonviolent social change and activism. And the way that I structure that session is I teach some of the theory, but then and usually I might spend an entire day, the entire social change day doing this. And then I break people into groups. So it's like all the people who are interested in environmental social change will be one group. People who are interested in social change with parenting might be another group. People in criminal justice might be another group. So people find their groups with people who share their interests. And then I will walk through how do we look at an activism, a nonviolent action using NVC and Kingian nonviolence principles and helping you apply it to your specific area. So it's even though I'm teaching about this broader themes, in your small group work, which you will have a lot of in that session, it will be very much specific to whatever theme you're working in. And I will say that every single IIT I've taught at for the last 4 or 5 years where I've done this, there's been an environmental group. That's such a big topic in this community. Yeah. So you will not be alone.
Thank you.
I also want to touch on the thing that you said earlier, which is what about if is about me, but not about me, right? Because I've bet other people are like, yeah, that's a good question. And that absolutely happens. And for me, this is classic NVC, right? Classic NVC says, I am the stimulus for your pain. It's about me, but I am not the cause of your pain. That's about you. Whatever I did that's stimulating pain, I can take accountability. Yes, that pain might not have been stimulated if I didn't take this action, right? Like the example I give that's a silly one is, if I left my child at the side of the road when I was supposed to pick them up from school, I took an action. That was a pretty big action. I forgot to pick up my kid. Definitely the stimulus. And if my child flies into a rage and is panicking and is super upset about it, some of that is a little bit not about me, right? There would be something there about their needs for security, for trust, for whatever has been building over time. Like, if this had happened just once, probably my child would be like, whoa, mom is always reliable. I wonder what happened. But if the child is really freaked out about it, this might be something around a child who's feeling very insecure, and that even if I were 5 minutes late, they would be this panicky and scared about it. So how do we hold both? How do I hold both that I took an action that stimulated pain, but the depth of your reaction might be a lot more about what's going on for you, not just about the fact that I took this action. There's much more I can say about this and that I do say about this in other contexts, but that's a bit of a my talk, a little bit of teaching on that. So, any other questions? Mihaela, if you're talking, you're muted. No, okay. Talking to someone else.
Sorry, my daughter just came in. Sorry.
No worries.
I have another question, and it's more
about. Christina, let's pause a moment because I want to make sure that anyone who hasn't yet asked a question has time. Sure. And since we have just a few minutes left, so if anyone else has not yet asked a question, please do.
So I propose that Christina's question is the last question before we finish. And
okay.
From the organizers, just an information, there's a link in the chat where you can still apply, pre-register for this IIT. There are still spots left. So if you decide to join us, please do register. If you have some questions, write to us. I will put our email into the chat as well. There are still a few financial assistance available. So if you are interested to have some financial assistance, please do mark that in your pre-registration. And we all hope to see you in Pohore. And Christina, maybe
before Christina's question, I just want to add one more piece about the IIT registration. A lot of times, especially these days, folks register at the last minute. We really, really need you to register early. If you're thinking about coming, please register now. Do not wait, because it makes it really hard both for planning and for even IITs don't get approved until we have enough registration, which means ticket costs for people coming from the US becomes very high and has an impact on the budget. So help us out, register early.
Thank you, Roxy.
You're welcome. Christina, since no one else has put a question in the chat or raised their hands, you get the last one.
Okay, thank you. It's about how, for example, if I get anxious in IIT, like if there is a way to ask for support, something, it's not about me only, it's just like in general. So how this, because it's like 9 days and it's a lot, very intensive, and I guess lots of
I love this question.
happen.
I love this question.
Yeah.
So at the IIT, there are going to be several support structures available to you. First, every participant is assigned to a home group where you'll be meeting with other people daily over the course of the 9 days. And it's a small group of people that you will get to know very well. And they're kind of like your buddies. You'll have empathy support. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're not understanding something, you can go to your home group every day as a touch point and get support. So that's one avenue for support. Next, the IIT will have support trainers. So if somebody is really, really, really struggling, the support trainers will come and check in on you and can offer some empathic support. We try to make the distinction between, we're not providing therapy because there are a whole bunch of legal things about that. But, if somebody is like, oh my gosh, I just touched, I did the anger session on Body NVC and somebody touched something really deep and you're like, wow, the session's over, but I'm still stirred up. You can have a support trainer possibly who can come and support you with that. The third support structure is that all of the IIT tends to have people with a range of skills. So the participants at every IIT I've ever been at include certified trainers who can also teach at the IIT. They're just there as participants, the people who are brand new at NVC. And so we invite people, especially people who are more experienced, to volunteer to be what we call empathy support people and conflict transformation people. And so they wear special badges. So if you needed support in the moment, you can go up to one of those people knowing that they volunteered to say, I will support you if you need support in the moment. Let's go somewhere and ask them for support. So you have multiple avenues to get support when you need it.
Thank you. That
You're welcome.
Sounds very safe. Really. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. So darlings,
Yes.
Oh, go on.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Just the last thought that is staying with me, and I think that we will leave it at our IIT, is community as a family, which really touched me. Thank you, Roxy. Thank you, Roxy, for facilitating and giving us the pleasure of hearing your answers to our many questions that we have in our heads. Thank you, Ina, for technical support. And maybe last words, Roxy, from you.
Yes. So first, I also want to thank Vesna and Ina because, I get to be at the IIT and it's like, oh, I'm the trainer. It does not happen without their work. So thank you so much for being here and all that you do. And for everyone else, I hope I see you. It's like those of you who I already know, I hope I see you there. And for others, please come and tell people. One of the things I try to tell everyone to do, if you really want to grow your NVC skills, come with a friend, somebody who can support you in the learning after and that you can practice with at home. So if you've got any friends who are on the fence, tell them, come on, do this with me. We can be buddies. We can support each other if we get triggered. And then we can continue to practice when we go back home. So see you there soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.